After years of silence, Damian Marley finally spoke, and what he revealed shocked everyone. Stay until the end to discover the hidden truth that changed everything about how we see the youngest Marley. The phone call came at 3 a.m. Damian Marley was in his Kingston studio, working on what would become his most personal track ever, when his manager's voice cracked through the speaker. "They're saying you have a secret wife and a hidden child." The words hit him like a physical blow. For months, he'd watched the rumors grow from whispers to headlines, but this was different. This was the moment he realized his silence had become its own lie. But let me take you back to where it all started. Picture January. Damian was at the peak of his career, fresh off a successful tour planning his next album. His life was structured, peaceful, private, exactly how he liked it. Growing up as Bob Marley's son meant living in a fishbowl, but Damian had mastered the art of being visible yet invisible. He gave fans his music, his message, his soul on stage, but his personal life remained sacred territory. The first crack in this carefully constructed privacy came at a charity event in February. Photographers captured him from every angle, as usual, but one image stood out, a blurry shot of his left hand, what appeared to be a ring catching the light. Within hours, that single photograph had been analyzed, enhanced, and dissected across every social media platform. The comments were relentless. Is that a wedding ring? How long has he been married? Why is he hiding his wife? What fans didn't know was that Damian had been struggling with something far more personal than a secret marriage. His grandmother, Cedella Booker, had been battling illness for months. She was one of the few people who truly understood the weight of carrying the Marley name. During those long hospital nights, she'd given him a ring, not a wedding band, but a family heirloom from his grandfather. He wore it to feel connected to his roots, to draw strength from his ancestry during one of the darkest periods of his life. But how could he explain this without revealing his grandmother's private health struggles? How could he tell the world about hospital visits and sleepless nights without betraying the dignity she'd taught him to maintain? So he said nothing, not realizing that in the age of social media, silence becomes evidence of guilt. The rumors mutated daily. One blog claimed he'd been secretly married for 3 years. Another insisted he was going through a messy divorce. The most painful theory suggested he was ashamed of his partner's background, which cut deep, because it contradicted everything he stood for. Damian had always been vocal about equality, about breaking down barriers, about love transcending boundaries. Yet here he was, being painted as someone who would hide love itself. By March, the speculation had infected every aspect of his life. He couldn't attend a family barbecue without photographers lurking in bushes. He couldn't visit his local grocery store without whispers following him down every aisle. His nieces and nephews started asking uncomfortable questions at family gatherings. "Uncle Damian, why won't you tell us about your wife?" The innocence in their voices broke something inside him. The turning point came during a recording session in April. Damian was laying down vocals for a track when he noticed his sound engineer Marcus constantly checking his phone. The distraction was affecting the music, so Damian asked what was wrong. Marcus hesitated, then showed him a YouTube video titled Damian Marley's Secret Family Exposed. The thumbnail showed a heavily edited photo of Damian with a woman and child, none of whom he'd ever met. The video had over 2 million views. That night, Damian sat in his garden, staring at the stars his father used to point out to him as a child. Bob Marley had faced his own share of scrutiny, but social media didn't exist then. There was no 24-hour news cycle, no anonymous comment sections, no viral misinformation. His father's battles were fought in newspapers and magazines, not in the endless echo chambers of the internet. The emotional toll was devastating. Damian found himself doubting every interaction, every photo, every public appearance. He started declining invitations to events, not out of arrogance, but out of exhaustion. Each outing became a minefield of potential misinterpretation. A smile at a female fan became proof of a secret relationship. A conversation with a child became evidence of hidden fatherhood. His close friend and collaborator Stephen Marley noticed the change immediately. During a family dinner in May, Stephen pulled him aside. "Brother, you're disappearing," he said. "Not just from the public, from yourself." Those words hit harder than any headline ever could. Damian realized he was letting strangers dictate how he lived his life, how he interacted with the world, how he expressed his truth. That conversation sparked something in Damian. He decided to respond, but not in the way everyone expected. Instead of a press conference or social media statement, he turned to his first language, music. He spent weeks in the studio pouring his frustration, his pain, his confusion into a cover of George Harrison's My Sweet Lord. The song spoke of spiritual searching, of feeling lost, of needing divine guidance. In Damian's interpretation, it became a prayer for clarity in a world of chaos. When he released the cover in early 2024, most fans saw it as a simple tribute, but those who knew him intimately heard something deeper. His voice carried a weight that spoke of sleepless nights and unanswered questions. The guitar work was haunting, almost desperate. It was therapy disguised as art, a cry for help wrapped in beautiful melody. The response was immediate and surprising. Fans who had been demanding answers suddenly shifted their focus. The comments section filled with support, with recognition of the pain in his voice. For the first time in months, people were talking about his music instead of his missing wife. It was a small victory, but it gave him hope. Encouraged by this response, Damian began work on an original piece. He locked himself in the studio for 3 weeks, emerging only for water and brief walks. The result was Wiseman, a track that would become his most personal statement ever. The lyrics were carefully crafted, each word chosen to convey maximum meaning with minimum exposure. He sang about betrayal without naming names, about wisdom earned through suffering, about choosing silence over senseless arguments. The song was released in June 2024, and it changed everything. Fans immediately understood this wasn't just music, it was his response to months of speculation. But it was a response delivered in his language, on his terms, through his art. The track climbed the charts not because of marketing or promotion, but because of raw emotional honesty. But even as Wiseman provided some relief, the rumors continued to evolve. By summer they had taken on a life of their own. Anonymous sources claimed to have inside information. Blurry photos surfaced regularly, each one proving a different theory. The most persistent rumor involved a childhood friend from Jamaica, who had supposedly become his secret wife. The woman in question, Sarah, eventually had to change her phone number and temporarily leave the country due to harassment. The situation reached a breaking point in August when Sarah's younger brother was approached by tabloid journalists outside his school. The 16-year-old was offered money for information about his sister's secret marriage to Damian. That night, Sarah called Damian in tears. "I can't live like this," she said. "My family is being torn apart over something that never happened." Her pain was palpable, and Damian knew he had to act. He spent the next several weeks crafting a response, not to the media but to his inner circle. He called meetings with his family, his management team, his closest friend. He explained the real story behind the ring, the truth about his grandmother's illness, the toll the rumors were taking on innocent people. Some urged him to make a public statement, others suggested he continue ignoring the noise. His grandmother, now recovering but still frail, had perhaps the wisest advice: "Truth has its own timing, baby. You'll know when it's right." The final straw came in early 20. An international entertainment blog published what they claimed was a verified exclusive story. They reported that Damian had been secretly married for 2 years, had recently gone through a quiet divorce, and had fathered a child who was being raised away from the public eye. The article included fabricated quotes from unnamed sources and doctored photographs that seemed to support their claims. Within hours, the story had been picked up by major news outlets worldwide. Social media exploded with a mixture of congratulations and criticism. Fans weren't just speculating anymore, they were treating this misinformation as confirmed fact. Well-meaning supporters offered condolences for his difficult divorce. Others criticized him for allegedly hiding his child from the world. That evening, Damian sat in his studio, watching his phone buzz with thousands of notifications. Each message was a reminder of how far the lie had spread, how many people now believed something that never happened. He thought about his father's words about truth and love, about the responsibility that came with his platform. He realized that his silence, meant to protect his privacy, had accidentally created space for someone else to write his story. The decision to speak came not from anger, but from a deep sense of responsibility. He thought about Sarah and her family, about his grandmother's teachings, about the young fans who looked up to him. He realized that sometimes protecting truth requires revealing it, even when that revelation feels like a violation of everything you believe about privacy. The statement he crafted was simple, direct, and powerful. Damian Marley is not and has never been married. There has been no separation, no secret wedding, and no hidden child. Damian remains focused on his music, family, and work with Ghetto Youths International. 27 words that ended over a year of speculation, lies, and pain. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media platforms that had been filled with rumors suddenly exploded with apologies, support, and reflection. Many fans expressed shame for believing unverified stories. Others praised his dignity in handling the situation. The fake news outlet that had published the original story quietly removed their article without apology or correction. But the real victory wasn't in clearing his name, it was in what happened next. The experience had changed Damian profoundly. He began work on his most personal album yet, one that would explore themes of truth, privacy, identity, and growth. The project, still in development, features collaborations with artists from around the world who had faced similar struggles with public scrutiny and private truth. His relationship with fame had evolved too. He started giving more interviews, not about his personal life, but about the importance of mental health, the dangers of misinformation, and the responsibility that comes with public platforms. He became an advocate for other artists struggling with similar pressures, creating a support network within the industry. The tour with Stephen Marley, renamed Traffic Jam, became something special. Performances were more intimate, more connected. Damian seemed more present, more willing to engage with audiences. The weight of carrying secrets he never had was finally lifted, and it showed in every note he played, every word he sang. Behind the scenes, his work with Ghetto Youths International expanded. The organization launched new programs focused on media literacy, teaching young people how to identify and combat misinformation. They created safe spaces for artists to discuss the pressures of fame and the importance of maintaining authentic identity in an age of constant scrutiny. Today, Damian Marley stands as proof that truth, when it comes, carries more weight than speculation ever could. His year of silence taught him that sometimes the most powerful response is thoughtful patience followed by purposeful truth. He learned that dignity doesn't require defense, that character isn't built through explanation but through action, and that the best way to handle false narratives is to write true ones through the universal language of music. The upcoming album represents more than new music. It represents a new chapter in his life and career, one where he controls his narrative, where his art speaks for his heart, where his legacy is defined by his choices, rather than others' assumptions. It's a reminder that behind every public figure is a private person with the same needs for space, respect, and understanding that we all share. His story resonates because it reflects our modern struggle with privacy and truth in the digital age. In a world where assumption becomes fact with frightening speed, where silence can be twisted into confession, where the absence of information creates space for misinformation, Damian chose a different path. He chose patience over reactivity, dignity over drama, and truth over trend. The lessons from his experience extend far beyond celebrity culture. They speak to fundamental questions about how we consume information, how we treat public figures, and how we balance our curiosity with respect for others' privacy. His journey shows that sometimes the most profound statements come not from what we say but from what we choose not to say until the moment is right. Damian Marley's year of silence wasn't hiding anything. it was protecting everything that mattered. His eventual truth didn't just clear up rumors, it redefined the rules of engagement between artists and audiences. He proved that in a world demanding constant explanation, sometimes the most powerful response is thoughtful silence followed by purposeful revelation. His story reminds us that truth doesn't need to be immediate to be impactful, and that sometimes the real victory lies not in winning the argument, but in choosing not to have it until the stakes truly matter. In the end, his silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom, and his truth, when it finally came, changed everything.